Good evening Trinidad and Tobago, and good evening to all of our viewers and listeners both home and abroad. So you're tuned into Real Issues with yours truly, Dominic Romain, the newest talk show program on the airwaves where we discuss the real issues live and alive. So thank you all again for joining us on the second night of this program, and of course it's a pleasure to be with you. And as promised last night, we intend to have a very informative show this evening, as will all the shows be going forward. And we would have promised you last night that from tonight we would have a guest in studio who will be joining us to continue the discussion with respect to local government and all things local government, with respect to the reform agenda and the ideas and the information that you need to get to make the right decision when you go to the polls on August 14. So, without further ado, let me introduce you to my guest this evening, none other than Mr. Anthony Roberts, Chairman of the Laventille Regional Corporation, former Minister of Government. Good evening, sir.
Good evening, Dominic. It is indeed my pleasure to be here this evening on this show, and I want to extend a very good night to all your listenership and viewers to this program.
Thank you so much. So as I said, we'll be discussing again a continuance of what we started last night, the local government reform agenda, all of that, everything that entails, and how it is going to improve the delivery of services as it pertains to the local government scenario. Now, before we get into our discussions tonight, we just have a little clip that I wanted to start with, where it's an interview that was done not too long ago with the current leader of the opposition on a talk show, where it is that she was, expressing her views with respect to local government, and more so her, how should I put it, her perspective on what local government really is. So we'll just take a little look at that clip, and then when we come back, Mr. Roberts and I will get into tonight's conversation.
You have now become the man when you want your drain clean, you have to go to Paris now. He's local government minister. And he's gone from landlord to the lava steamer.
How could you pick, and that's the same thing I said, how would you bring out the Attorney General to local government? To go to corporations every day and check road and box drain and bridge?
Well, I was in local government, and local government is about drains and rats and rodents. And, all the drains, as you said, it's really, water come down, how hath the mighty fallen?
Right, so that would have been the current leader of the opposition who was giving a commentary when the current minister of local government was appointed, Mr. F.A.S.T. And in that interview, you would have heard her describe him or his new position as that of the Minister of Drains, Rats and Rodents. Mr. Roberts, is that an accurate description of the local government ministry?
Well, I think clearly the leader of the opposition do not understand the importance of local government. The country has two tiers of governance, one at the central government and the other local government. Local government plays a very critical role in the development of communities. Yes, rats form part of the community. And obviously, as a rodent, we would not want to live among them.
Right.
And so part of the responsibility of local government would be to take care of them. But there are so many other aspects of local government. And Dominic, I'm on air. And I will not engage in that kind of discussion.
Well, would you describe that as what was said as an insult to local government practitioners? Persons who have decided to serve and have chosen local government as the platform by which they would want to do so.
I think those who do not understand will see it. I am proud to be a practitioner. Yeah, so that the nonsense contribution by the leader of the opposition would not faze me, because I see local government as an opportunity to develop the same community in which we live, so that I will not, be fazed by what she has to say.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so off air, we would have been having a conversation, and you did indicate to me that your political career would have actually started at the local government level.
Yes.
So you are well versed to share with us what is the role and function of local government.
I did spend some time in local government, and local government has quite a lot of responsibility in the community. First, we have responsibilities for the minor roads within the communities. As a matter of fact, I wish to say that local government has responsibility for more than 80% of the roads in the country.
Okay.
Yeah, and all the roads that will take you to your homes within the various communities in this country fall under the purview of local government. The central government only has responsibility for the highways and some of the major roads within the community. Local government as well have responsibility for all the drains, the minor drains within the communities, and the drains which would pass to the front of your home would be local government. Central government would be responsible for the rivers and some of the major water courses, right? Local government, and that is when I say have responsibility, the construction and development of these roads and drains, so that I don't see how rats come into it.
Yeah.
Right? That is a critical responsibility. Local government have responsibilities for market and abattoirs within the respective communities. The recreation facilities within the communities, all the playground and recreation grounds, and so public spaces that fall under local government. Right? Local government have so many. Yes, we do look after road ends within the community. So maybe we should leave the road ends in a particular section of the country, and to see how the lady would feel about it. Right? But those are some of the responsibilities that local government falls under the local government purview.
Right. So I believe in the last budget, for 2022, I believe the allocation for local government was about 2.3 billion or thereabouts, which means it's not a number to sneeze at.
Well, the thing is, in local government over the years, funding is always a major problem. All right, and that is why this government needs to be lauded, because the government decided to find a way to deal with the funding issues for local government. Yeah, the government indicated clearly that the funds from property tax will go to local government. So clearly it is not the view of the opposition.
Yes.
Right? Because they have been fighting property tax tooth and nail. So that, but it is a good initiative. Yeah, and I want to really praise Dr. Rowley for thinking in that direction. Quite a number of other countries utilize property tax at the local government level. Why not Trinidad and Tobago?
Yeah.
Yeah. So that we are indeed very, very happy to have that initiative. In my own corporation, if there are corporation under the UNC who do not wish to utilize it, they can provide or make the arrangements for the funds to come to Sawan Laventille.
Yeah.
And so that we could continue to help the people of Sawan Laventille to develop the community and to improve the standard of living for the people of the respective communities.
Right.
So that I am indeed very happy about it.
What is the average population size that your corporation serves?
My corporation is approximately between 170 to 180,000 persons.
Right.
Yeah, it is the third largest of all the corporations in in Trinidad. The largest corporation really is the Tinapuna Piarco Regional, followed by the Kuva Tabakit and Sawan Laventille Estate.
Right.
Yeah.
So I just want to return to a statistic you mentioned earlier on with respect to the roads, that almost 80% of the roads in the country fall under local government, which is something I think most people don't know.
Yeah.
Hence the reason, the current situation where the minister or the Ministry of Works and Transport often is maligned and harangued by the citizenry with respect to the condition of the roads. What are some of the challenges that you all face with respect to maintaining roads, and talk to us from the perspective of contractors? Because it's difficult for some people, but at least for me, and I know others, to understand why a road can't last more than 3 years or 5 years, and we have to keep repaving the same roads every 5 years. Are there certain minimum standards that must be met with respect to road paving, building of roads, maintenance of roads, and who is responsible for that?
Part of it is the preparation, and part of it is funding.
Right.
Yeah, because you can't get into contractual arrangements if you don't have the money.
Yes.
Yeah, and then the corporations themselves must develop their standards and to ensure that the contractor deliver for the funds that you're putting out to the preparation of these roads. But I think preparation is key, and part of the difficulty as well is the weight of some of the vehicles that we have in the country now. We are a developing country, and of course you would have an improvement in the kind of vehicles and equipment that would be traversing the roads, and the roads weren't prepared in terms of the sub-base to be able to carry the kind of weight on the roads. So that is part of the responsibility of the transport board to make sure that vehicles travel, the kind of vehicles that we have, that they travel on roads that could really carry the weight of the vehicle.
Right.
Yeah. So that is one of the major things, because you fix the roads and some of these 10-wheelers, when they pass in it, you could actually see the road sinking. Yeah. Because they were never prepared for that kind of weight. Yeah. So that is a major problem that we have.
Right.
Yeah.
But certainly not a challenge that is insurmountable.
It will cost the country quite a lot of funding if we have to change and to develop and prepare the roads that to be able to carry the weight of some of these vehicles. So that is something the ministry has to look at, and then all the other agencies who have responsibility.
Right.
Yeah.
So let's talk a little bit about the the role and function of the different offices, positions within the council. So most people think that the councillor is somebody you vote for and their sole responsibility is to take care of the needs within the particular district for which they were voted. But are there responsibilities that go beyond that realm?
Well, I like to say to the councillors at which I work that you have a double responsibility, a micro responsibility and a macro responsibility. Right? You have responsibility for your electoral district. That is, the persons in that electoral district would have voted for you to make representation on their behalf. But then you have that responsibility for the management of the corporation. If the corporation is not properly managed, you will have difficulty in providing the goods and services to the burgesses. So that, I mean, you can't leave one for the other. You have to be able to share your time and to take up both responsibility and treat both of them as serious as possible. Yeah, so that you cannot just rely on just representing your burgesses without looking at the management of the corporation.
Right.
Yeah, and that is what the local government reform is seeking to put in place. All right, and that is why a person like me look forward to the local government reform.
Right.
Right. So these are some of the responsibilities that you, as a councillor, you would have to take on. But more than that, local government operates a committee system. That everything you do will come up at one of the committees. And so it's a little different to Parliament. I mean, Parliament is getting into the committee system as well, putting a couple committees in Parliament. Yeah, but the entire working of local government is through a committee system.
Right.
Yeah, and so the committees would be headed by chairmen of those committees. Right? They are private meetings. The only public meeting of the corporation is the statutory meeting, to which I sometimes refer to as the mother of all the meetings in the corporations. Because at the committee level, you go into greater details and discussing and taking the decisions at the committee, but they have to be referred to the statutory meeting for the final approval.
Right.
Right? And to facilitate the execution of the lawful resolution of the council.
Right.
So that is how they operate.
And these committees are chaired by councillors?
Councillors and aldermen, or
Right.
councillors or aldermen. Right? They are appointed by the chairman of council, and then they will chair the committee. In the earlier days, I must say that the chairman of the committee will just chair the committee and leave, right? And the administration will take up and do everything. We see it a little different, and that is what is expected from the local government reform. The chairman of the committee will operate like a minister. You have certain responsibilities and you will meet with the staff at that level. There will be heads of department that you will meet with and to ensure they carry out the policies of the council. Yeah, so it is not just coming and chairing a meeting and leave. You have to be involved in what is happening to ensure that you can deliver to the burgesses out there.
Right. And I'm glad you raised that issue, because there is a concern from citizens with respect to, in some cases, the caliber of persons who are selected as candidates to run for the position of councillors. I will mention no party in particular, but we've seen certain persons, certain elements who have been selected, perhaps because they're popular in the community, they're well known, and there is a view that, well, that can get them across the finish line. But is there the reform? Does it propose, at least I've not heard it, that there be any minimum standards that must be met in terms of professional background, in terms of educational background? Because based on what you just told us there, that the duties and responsibilities that would fall to the councillor, beyond just sitting in an office and listening to your burgesses and their problems, if you are to be able to chair a committee and also to ensure that the persons who fall within this committee carry out the mandate of the council, one would think that you should have some level of expertise or experience or something to be able to do that. So has the time come for us to address that issue? That is not just every and anybody could just become a councillor, taking into consideration what you mentioned.
But you see, the thing is, you don't have that kind of arrangement at the level of the parliament. Yeah, a person must attain a particular level of education.
Right.
Right, and I am confident that that person will be able to learn as you go along.
Yes.
Right, and so that I don't see that as a major problem, because you have some persons who might not be, at a academic standard, but they're indeed very good in terms of dealing with the issues of the community.
Right.
Yeah, and these are the persons who you look forward to participate once the person is prepared to learn and to work hard.
Right.
Yeah. It is not purely academics. While academics might be able to assist you, you have reached a standard of learning, and it might be able to assist you, but it is not purely academics.
Yeah.
Because you might see some persons who are academically sound and they don't understand the streets at all.
Right.
Yeah, so I think you have to have a mix to be able to perform effectively.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, I guess based on the type of budgets and so on, what was the last budget for your regional corporation?
We got upper $170 million for recurrent expenses, and just over 31 million for development funding.
Right.
That was the last one.
Okay.
Yeah. And we are at the stage now where, in terms of the development funding, the contractual arrangements are in place, and we are executing those projects within the community at this time.
Right.
Yeah. And that is what it is. Well, the recurrent is what it is to deal with staffing and to deal with a number of other issues. But we also do some projects within the community on the recurrent, because the staff, we have teams that are out there and we provide the materials, and they're able to do some meaningful work. Yeah, and we have done bridges, we have done the curb and slipper, we have done box trains, and a number of other projects within the community, once it is to satisfy the needs of the persons within, the burgesses within the community.
Right. So share with us, what is the role of the alderman?
Similarly to that of the senator. We do not contest elections.
Right.
We are not elected. And I say we because I am an alderman.
Yes.
We are not elected, but we are selected. And we would come, one is expected that the aldermen would come with certain expertise. So whatever is missing in terms of the council, the alderman would be able to provide that experience.
Right.
Right? And that interaction with the communities. And that is why I indicated earlier on that it's not only the academics, all right? So you have that mix so that you would be able to command and run the corporations effectively.
Right. Now, based on what we've heard recently, the local government reform proposes to put more autonomy, more authority in the hands of the council than what would have previously obtained. I think
Yes.
I recently heard the minister in an interview indicating that there's these certain bureaucracies that currently exist which can hold up things
Too much of
unnecessarily.
it.
Yes, and so they're
Too
now
much of
attempting
it.
to devolve a little more power to the council, so you will be serving more like an executive.
Yes.
Yeah.
Similarly to that of the Tobago House of Assembly.
Right.
Yeah. It is an interesting piece of discussion. At this time, there's an anomaly at councils where the chief executive officer of the corporation is hired as a public servant and reports to the PS.
Right.
Right? They will tell you straight that the PS is my boss. But they also, by law, have to report to the council. If there is conflict between the instructions that they would have gotten from the ministry, the PS at the ministry, and the council, obviously it would create a lot of difficulty in terms of the administration and the council. And we have seen a lot of conflicts between the administration and, let's say, the CEO in particular, and the councils. Now, what is intended with the local government reform is that there should be no ministry.
Right.
There would be no Ministry of Local Government. There would be no PS for the CEO to report to.
Okay.
So the CEO reports to the mayor, right? Because all the corporations will now have mayors instead of mayor and chairman.
Oh,
Yeah?
okay.
So they will all be mayors. And the CEO reports to the mayor and the council. Right? The council and the mayor, or the executive and the mayor, or the executive will be the mayor and the chairman of the committees that we spoke about earlier on.
Right.
So that forms the executive, and then the CEO will then have to report to them.
Right.
Yeah, so that anomaly will be removed.
Yeah. All right. So we just have to take a short break, folks. So stay locked, stay with us, and we will be back shortly. And we continue the conversation on the other side of the break.
Tired of wasting precious time at the bank applying for a loan, only to be denied? We understand your frustration. Here at Realtor Group of Companies, we take a different approach. Contact Saeed, Managing Director of Realtor Group of Companies and licensed moneylender at 238-6716, 242-7690 or 339-1670. Feel free to visit our office at number 14 Carney Savannah Road, Chaguanas, or number 132 Superior Road, Victoria Village, San Fernando.
Attention all bakers, doubles vendors, roti makers. Try Chic Leisha high quality, unbleached, bromate free, all purpose and whole wheat flour. Bleached flour and bromate flour is treated with chemicals that can cause cancer, and this is banned in Europe and many other countries. Chic Leisha flour offers a healthier option, being that it's unbleached and bromate free. It also has a finer grain and a softer texture, lower priced and conveniently packaged in 2 pound, 2 kg, 10 kg and 25 kg bags. Available at groceries and supermarkets. For wholesale and retail prices, contact Chic Leisha Limited at 665-3336 or 480-8715 or visit them at Warrenville, Canupia. Chic Leisha Limited. Quality you can trust.
The Solid Agency, the standard for artiste management and development. Booking for an exclusive roster of the region's top-rated entertainers. The Solid Agency, the standard for event execution live and virtual, including fully loaded Shaggy and Friends, New York, Nigeria, and Antigua music festivals, Burgess Long Walk to Freedom, Bounty, Beanie Versus, to name a few. Make your career or your event solid. Contact us now, thesolidagency@gmail.com. Call 1-876-469-4005. Visit solidagency.com.
Because you would have made some revelations just now with respect to the fact that going forward, in the new dispensation, you are going to no longer have chairman, but mayors, which I think is something that, that's interesting. And I'm sure a lot of our listeners and viewers tonight, this is the first time that they're hearing that, and the way that the executive is going to be made up, which is the mayor. So what is it then that they will know, as you mentioned, there's no longer going to be a ministry of local government? So to whom do you all report then? Or is there, how does that relationship work with respect to the local government and central government?
Well, Dominic, I don't know if you would just afford me the opportunity,
please,
to take you back to the conversation we were having.
Yes.
And then we will come to that, because we were referring to the autonomy given to the council, the executive council.
Yes.
Similar to that of the Tobago House of Assembly, the executive council can execute their program without having to go to the municipal council.
Right.
Right? You will go to the municipal council to ratify certain things and all that, and have your debates on certain issues and so. But the executive council don't have to wait on the municipal council to go ahead and execute its program, just like the Tobago House of Assembly. So I think that is one of the, in terms of the autonomy of the executive council, to which we would be extremely happy about. Yeah, and you're referring to something again, if you just remind me.
Yes. So what would be the line of authority now that all of this power would be devolved to the council? And the new executive system? So there would no longer be a need or a role for the Ministry of Local Government.
Who do we report to?
Yes.
First, the people.
Right.
Right?
Right.
You report to the people. If you don't perform, they get rid of you.
Right.
Good. And then you have the government agencies, the parliament. You have the joint select committees that you would have to report to, the Auditor General's department that you would have to report to, so that there is no shortage of reporting. So that you have to keep it in line, that these institutions will keep you in line as you go along. Right. And finally, you must report to the people at the end of the day. Right. So it's just that there is no ministry. As a matter of fact, I see the ministry as a major bit of bureaucracy. The ministry in itself is just simply a conduit through which funds from the Ministry of Finance will come to the corporation. Why is it that the funds can't come directly from the Ministry of Finance onto the corporation?
Yes.
And the time it takes, some time between the Ministry of Finance to get to the corporation, I mean, you just can't compare it. And vice versa. If we have to submit documentation to the Ministry of Finance, it has to pass through the Ministry of Local Government, which is not adding any real value to it.
Yes.
Yeah, some of them may not agree with me, but really, no real value. As a matter of fact, this current minister is ensuring that we change that, and to ensure that in order to get your things done quickly, that you send your documents straight on to the Ministry of Finance.
Right.
Yeah,
Right.
and so this is one of the things that we look forward to. It's just a lot of bureaucracy at the level of the Ministry of Local Government.
Right.
Which, because the work is actually done at the corporation. Our engineer would look at it, right? And the council will approve it.
Right.
And then it goes to the ministry and sit there for a couple of months before it gets on to the Ministry of Finance. And this bureaucracy is what the government is trying to get rid of, and to ensure that the delivery of the services to the people, it gets to them as quickly as possible.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So in terms of the annual budget that you all would submit, I suppose, previously to the ministry, and so on, you arrive at this budget, how is it that the individual councillors would make requests based on what they think are the needs within their respective districts?
Yeah, their interaction within the community.
Right.
They will see and identify the needs either on their own or together with the community. As a matter of fact, the local government reform is pushing councillors to be more involved in the community, and the community will be part of the decision making in terms of what has to be done within the community.
Right.
Right. So having identified the programs within the community, they would bring it to the council, and we formulate what we call the draft estimates for the following year, as we have done for 2024. We've done that already.
Right.
Yeah. And this goes to the Ministry of Finance. The Minister of Finance would read his budget, and they would make their allocations to the respective corporation in the same way that they would make their allocations to the other ministries. Yeah, so we are waiting that subvention from government.
Right.
We're hoping that too will be different with the coming of the property tax.
Right.
Right, because the property tax would be assigned to the corporation, so we would have a continuous flow of funding coming to the corporation, so that we could take place of one of the concerns that you raised, the condition of the roads. Yeah, so that we'd be able to deal with that. The government, where there's a shortfall with the property tax, the government would be able to fit in and give a subvention to be able to meet the needs of the community.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. That's quite interesting. So then we can expect that during the Standing Finance Committee portion of the budget debate, is it now that is the Ministry of Finance that would be accounting for the
Ministry of Finance would be accounting for it, because, I mean, as I think I did indicate before, it is an opportunity to deal with this problem of inadequate funding for local government. Yeah, and we look forward to it.
Right.
Really look.
So would you say the number one challenge in delivering the services to Burgesses is funding?
Inadequate funding.
Right. And so therefore, notwithstanding that, which probably is going to continue to be an issue until the property tax comes into play.
Yeah.
In terms of the bureaucracy, which is now lessened significantly, right? So persons can now expect to see things done in a more speedy manner.
Speedy manner.
Right.
And that is the intention.
Right.
Yeah. That is what makes one of the reasons why it is important for us to do the reform. Yeah. To improve the conditions. Yeah. I mean, local government in itself has been a journey. A journey. If you started looking after local government reform from post-independence. There are a number of different phases that it went through. The county council stage, you would recall the 7 county councils in Trinidad and Tobago, because Tobago in itself had the county council. And it comes down to when the NAR got into office, and they made some significant changes to the reform of local government, and this bringing into play the Municipal Corporation Act. Yeah, that was Act number 21 of 1990.
Right.
Yeah, and we have not seen any significant changes until today. All right, we have had, the opposition spoke to that they needed to have more consultation. Consultation has been taking place a long time ago.
Yeah.
A very long time. When they were in office, they had consultations as well. Yeah, under Mrs. Manning, a lot of consultation took place. Under this, well, not this government, but under the PNM government, a lot of consultation took place under Franklin Khan as well. And so, how long are you going to consult? It is necessary to start an act.
Right.
Yeah, and I really want to, pay a lot of tribute to the current Prime Minister. He took this thing and he led it and ensured that this became a reality. Yeah, he was involved in ensuring that this thing turned out to be what it is now. We went into the parliament, or even before the parliament, there was the appointment of a committee that looked into the drafting the policy, because in the PNM, we don't have legislation without policy. Right? So that the policy was done, and before the policy was done, we had that round of consultation again, because you want to include in the policy the feeling of the members of the community, right? So we took all of that into consideration. We then looked at local government around the world, right? The different models of local government. And we took into consideration largely what is taking place in Tobago, to bring local government in Trinidad close to what is happening in Tobago.
Right.
Right? So all this took place before we completed the policy document, which was submitted to Cabinet, and Cabinet accepted it.
Right.
Then they took it into Parliament. Yeah, the legislation into Parliament. And the legislation is now passed. And we are at the point where we are actually rolling out. Things are being put in place by the ministry at this time to roll out local government reform.
What time frame would you say it would take in order for the full reform really to be rolled out and for the population to start seeing the impact?
It will take a couple years. Yes, I would think so. I would think during the coming term of the local government, you would see a lot of the plans of the government or the legislation being implemented. So that I think from here on is the work to make local government what it is.
Right.
And I mentioned Dr. Rowley earlier on. He understands clearly what is needed for the country. Yeah, and if you take some time and listen to him speak on local government reform, you would agree with me that he is fully aware as to the direction that he really wanted to go. Yeah, and the country will benefit from the reform. Yeah, communities, there would be more sustainable communities. People will benefit more. They would be able to participate. We would see things like local content in the respective corporation. If there is contracts to be given out, contracts would be given out to people within the community, right? You would see things like that, so that when the economics within the respective municipality will be boosted then. Yeah. The money that you make, you would spend it right there.
Right.
And that kind of thing. So that is interesting times, Dominic. Really interesting times. Yeah. And I think I will say it. I think while the leaders of the opposition might be making a hue and cry about it, the practitioners would see it differently.
Yes.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Their practitioners, I say, would see it differently.
Yeah.
They understand it. But you see the leaders of the opposition, but they are purely on the line of politics, not about people. Right? When politics should be about people.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that is part of their problem. Their focus is to win an election.
Yes.
And you win an election and you handle the purse of the country.
Yeah.
That's their focus.
Right.
Yeah. But in terms of the development of communities, they are not on that. I don't think they are on that.
Yeah. And I mean, that perspective is supported by the fact that the only political platform that you're currently hearing the granular details as to what the reform entails really is on the PNM platform. The other platforms, it's about Rowley and Imbert, the government, and this is the stepping stone for 2025. And you're hearing rhetoric that is more aligned to a general election and not so much the local government election.
Well, I don't think they showed any interest at all in the local government reform. When the documentation was before the parliament, you would recall that they asked for it to go to the joint select. They never participated in the way that you ought to participate in a joint select and make their contribution. They never really gave support to the local government reform. And even though when they were in government, they were talking local government reform as well. Yeah, but it's a question of talk and no real action.
Right. And if memory serves me correctly, the only reform that would have taken place under them 2010 to 2015 would have been the manner in how aldermen are chosen.
Elections again.
Yes.
Elections again, proportional representation. Yeah, and as a responsible government, the PNM never sought to change that.
Right.
We operate in it and we live in it. So that I don't know that they have not demonstrated to me and to the sensible people of Trinidad and Tobago that they are about the development of this country.
Yeah.
Yeah. But God is in charge.
Indeed.
Yeah, he's in charge.
Yes.
And we will continue to serve the best interests of the people of this country. Yeah.
So under this new system, councillors are going to be full-time?
Under the local government reform, they would be full-time.
Right.
Yeah. The business of local government is too important to be treated in a part-time arrangement. As a matter of fact, it is not fair to say that it is part-time. You are paid a stipend.
Right.
Right? And that is the only part of it which is part-time. But you serve 24 hours. Your burgesses don't understand anything about part-time. They call you any time of the day and night.
Yes.
Yeah? And they make their request and you have to respond. Yeah? So that it really and truly, it is not a part-time responsibility. And the government recognizes that and will ensure that we give local government the attention that it deserves. Yeah, so that is what is to take place.
Right.
Yeah.
So this means what? That persons who currently have other professions who would have been allowed to continue. Well, I was always confused as to how that works. Because when does one get time off to come to the committee meetings? When does one get time?
It is a struggle.
Yeah.
I mean, I served during that period. I worked then at the Agricultural Development Bank, and it was always a juggle to run away from the bank, to run to the corporation, run back, and
Yeah.
it was always a difficulty. Now you will have to make a choice, right? Whether you can put some arrangement in place for the period within which you serve, some arrangement with your full-time workplace, and since if they allow it, right, so that has to be worked out.
Right.
Yeah, but believe it, it is a struggle.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I would imagine so. And it's something that I've always thought about, even when I was contemplating, well, when I ran for local government in 2013.
Yeah.
It was
Oh,
one of the
you
things
did?
that was at the forefront of my mind.
Yeah.
So, yeah, but, well, but tell us, what is the relationship between the council and the members of parliament? Because I imagine you would have more than one member of parliament within your
Within San Juan Laventille, we have 8
Wow.
members of parliament. And the relationship most times is a good one because they would make requests all the time. Yeah. As a matter of fact, if I could say it on air, I spoke with the Minister of Energy today. All right, because he had a little concern within his community and he touched base and so on. It's something that we have been acting on and all that kind of thing.
Right.
So that the relationship must be a good one. Right? It can't be otherwise. It shouldn't be otherwise. Yeah, because both of you are serving at different levels, but you are serving the interests of the people. So it can't be otherwise.
Right.
Right? You ought to have a good relationship with your member of parliament. Yeah. I will not support anything else. Yes, it's sometimes some members of parliament really don't understand the local government, and the councillors might be doing things and they might see it as removing political dirt under their feet.
Yes.
But I think they must come around and understand that you have to work together. Yeah, because the members of parliament will have to come to the councillors to get certain things done. And I'll tell you something, in local government, you have an allocation to work with, the member of parliament don't have an allocation. Yeah, so you must work together.
Yeah.
Right? The member of parliament would be able to open doors at the level of central government to be able to assist the work to be done within their constituencies. But yeah, so that it is useless to have feud between the member of parliament and the council. Useless.
Yeah.
Yeah, they must work together.
Yeah, but that's an interesting dynamic, because based on all that you have said so far, I think it is clear tonight that local government is far more significant in the running of the country than persons would have previously thought.
Well, yes, it is. It is important. It is very, very important. Local government councillors are supposed to be closest to the community,
Right.
to the people in the community. I mean, you though by nature of the responsibility, you have to be in and out of the community, fixing the roads, hearing the concerns of people, because there are many concerns from time to time. Some of them you have to provide advice to them as to how they should proceed in certain ways. You just have to be there.
Yeah.
You can't be a local government representative and be separate and apart from your community. I mean, as a councillor or even a member of parliament, I could walk into any member my community walk in the house,
Right.
to live in here. Yeah, and they must feel comfortable to communicate with you, call you, and to talk to you on any issues.
Right.
And they will talk to you on issues that are not under your purview on several occasions. But the fact is, you are a representative. So whatever the issue is, you must always be prepared to make representation on their behalf, wherever it is. Yeah, even if it is a central government issue, you make representation to the Ministry of Works, you make representation to WASA. As a matter of fact, you know, the legislation of the local government is such an interesting one that the framers of the legislation knew that a number of areas that will impact the community don't fall under local government. Right? So we have what we call the Regional Coordinating Committee, where we invite all these agencies who don't fall under local government.
Right.
For example, WASA is public utilities.
Yes.
T and Tech. All right. The Ministry of Works. All right. They have the drainage division and all the different aspects. Those who do the road signage and all that kind of thing. Right. They are invited by law to attend the regional coordinating meeting and sit there with the councillors, hear the concerns of the councillors with respect to those areas and to try to fix them. Yeah. So that, I mean, the thing is well thought out.
Yes.
All right. Sometimes it is not as smooth as we would like it, but the fact is, it is the legislation, and you have to enforce it and ensure that the people benefit from it.
Right.
In our case, in my case, in Sawan Laventille, in addition to that, we have what we call a community outreach, where the council would go into communities on evenings.
Right.
And we will invite some of the agencies to come with us so that they too could understand what we are telling them when we meet at the regional coordinating meeting. Right? And they will hear from the members of the community as well.
Right.
Because we invite the community to come in and sit and discuss.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we take another break, folks, and we continue the conversation when we come back on the other side. So stay locked.
My parents' generation grew up with Royal Castle from the first restaurant in 1968 when that distinctive, tempting aroma hit the air. Like never before, fried chicken with a special blend of local seasonings and a one-of-a-kind flavor down to the bone. Today, Royal Castle still have that same delicious taste, and I love it too. And the kids, they have more to enjoy. For me, the Castle is more than just nice food. It's we own, part of me and you, and is the real flavor of TMT.
Green Dot continues to deliver internet connectivity to a wide range of communities in Trinidad. With our combination fiber and wireless network, you get the service you need wherever you live. Stream your favorite shows, enjoy online tuition, stay in touch with your work team, and connect with friends and family with internet service at a price you can afford. As communities continue to grow, we continue to deliver. Call 224-GDOT or visit gd.tt today. Green Dot, improving and simplifying lives.
A warm welcome awaits you at Alicia's Palace, a hotel nested in the quiet hills of Lady Chancellor at 1 3/4 mile mark just above the Emperor Valley Zoo. Alicia's Palace is the perfect place to combine pleasure and business. A 24-hour facility with full amenities, including air-conditioned rooms with Wi-Fi, mini-fridge, microwave, and cable TV. Designed to provide you with quiet comfort and convenience. The perfect staycation location where you can swim in the outdoor pool, soak in the jacuzzi, or simply soak up the sun, all at an affordable price. Relax and enjoy local dishes in an eco-friendly environment. At Alicia's Palace, they conduct steam cleaning of all rooms and common areas in keeping with current health and safety protocols. Whether it's a special occasion or simply just to get away, Alicia's Palace combines affordability and quality service. For more details, check out their Facebook page, Alicia's Palace HQ, or give them a call at 621-1017 or 624-8553.
If you're planning an event, make us your first option. At Reality of a Dream, we can make your event memorable. We can assist in planning your corporate functions, moderate gatherings, family occasions, christenings, and more. We also cater for weddings and other special occasions. Our newly renovated venue includes a majestic entryway, which takes you along a path to a fantastic indoor facility, which can accommodate up to 80 dining guests. A recently completed, fully air-conditioned, beautifully designed wing, which maintains the theme and flow of Reality of a Dream, adds 30 extra seats for dining guests. In total, we can now seat a total of 110 dining guests. Come see for yourself the splendor that awaits you. Walk along the path and make your way to the breathtaking, well-maintained swimming pool and gazebo, and also the entire grounds of Reality of a Dream. We've also updated the Dream Suite, which comes with all modern conveniences, where guests can enjoy the feeling of an exquisite retreat overlooking the entire area. Reality of a Dream caters to professional events. We provide secure parking for guests, so call us at 332-6880 and ask for Harriet, located at number 15 Moses Avenue, San Juan. Reality of a Dream, making dreams come true every day.
And welcome back. Thank you for staying with us. You are tuned into The Real Issues with yours truly, Dominic Romain. Let me, of course, say thank you for those persons who are straddling both this production this evening as well as the PNM's meeting out in Tunapuna. I just had a quick look at the social media feed, and I'm seeing in the comments that persons are expressing, the challenge that they're having managing the boat. But I believe they have the capacity to do it that well. We have another clip that we want to play for you. And it really speaks to the issue of providing blind support for legislation that you know nothing about. And therefore, if it is that persons are to embrace the local government reform, it is important that you get that information, as much information as you can. Tonight has been very, very informative. It's been very elucidating. Mr. Roberts has been able to share with us a lot of things that some of us will be hearing for the first time. And I think it augurs well going forward for you making the right decision on August 14th when you cast your ballot, when you exercise your franchise. So in this clip is just one example of persons who would have provided blind support for a piece of legislation which, had they been given the opportunity, afforded the opportunity as you are being afforded, not just tonight, but I suppose also at the various meetings that will be taking place and the different platforms on which persons who know about the reform, who care about it, and who want to ensure that that information gets out there, that it benefits you. And this clip that we're about to show you is an example of why you need to get the information, and you shouldn't just run with something simply because you support the party and that's your only motive. So I turn over to the director, and we'll come back on the other side of the clip.
Well, we out here to support the Prime Minister. What about the bill that are you in support of? Well, we support you with all what she is doing and what she says she's going to do and everything. We support everything. Yeah. All the way, supported all the way. All the way, but so have you listened to the opposition's worries about the bill, or other people who've been worried about it? What do you have to say to them? No, I really didn't hear it. I really didn't hear it. Okay. Yes, I really don't know what's going on. So you have to support, but you don't know where you're supporting. Yes. We're supporting the Prime Minister.
Why did you come up here today?
I come to support my beloved Prime Minister.
Do you know what is being debated in Parliament?
No, I have no idea.
Which constituency are you from?
Marco.
What did you come out here for today?
To support the minister from URP office, Region 2.
Do you know what is being debated today in Parliament?
Not really, but I will be representing here with Miss Pamela, but Mr. Y for Region 2, our manager.
Our PRP on the I program, Martina, and his bias people. Mr. Y have a settle.
So you came out to support the Prime Minister?
Yes. Only yellow, boy, only yellow.
Okay. Do you know what is being debated in Parliament today?
Well, everything good. Everything good. Everything good.
So do you know what's being debated in Parliament?
Well, we want to be in the country right now.
What to support the Prime Minister?
Where are you from?
What?
Do you know what is being debated in Parliament today?
Well, sort of, yeah.
What is being debated?
Ask them now. I support Kamala.
Do you know what's being debated in Parliament?
Yeah.
Thank you.
We're not here out at well, you're not here, but we're talking about why you're here now. What is your support? Huh? You've been thinking about it.
Supporting the bill.
But why are you supporting the bill? This affects your life. So you have to say why you're supporting the bill.
You want the bill to pass and you want extra, you want to raise a pay.
I don't want to, okay, but you understand. So do you understand what it is that they're trying to pass today?
Well, I wasn't listening much about it because I had not time to go to I didn't have time to, I did working plenty now, so I had not time to listen much about the bill now.
So, but you're out here in support of something that you don't understand though?
I ain't saying I don't understand, but I was not listening much about the bill, so I was in there to see.
She's the ruler right now and she knows how to run the country.
Do you understand the bill and do you understand what it is? That's
right.
Do you understand what it's about?
Yes.
So, what is it about the bill that you like and that you think is good for the country?
Well, I think this is the decision she's making is right.
Right, so for those of you who might recall, that was a clip from back in 2015, and the bill that was in fact being debated at that time would have been the runoff bill, and had that bill been successful, quite likely you would have seen a different complexion in terms of the current election that we are going to be facing, because the proposals for that particular bill was that if the smaller political parties, or any political party for that matter, fail to get a certain percentage of the total vote cast in that particular constituency or district, they would not have been able to go on to the second round of voting. And essentially, their supporters would not have been able to cast a second ballot to actually have a say in terms of which candidate would have eventually won. So again, that was just an example there of why it is you need to ensure that you are seized of the information, especially as it pertains to proposed legislation or new legislation, so you can make the most informed of decisions, and that is why Mr. Roberts is with us this evening. So, Mr. Roberts, you wanted to touch a little bit on some of the committees in the council.
Yes, I mentioned sometime earlier on that the local government operates a committee system. In the past, or prior to this current legislation, what you would find in some of the corporations that they will create committees just to give it to their colleagues so that everybody could get a little extra money. This legislation sought to deal with that kind of behavior. This thing is not about money. It is about providing goods and services to the burgesses.
Yes.
And so the committees, the legislation limits the amount of committees that a council can have.
Right.
No more than 8 committees. All right. In our case, because I'll tell you we were in reform mode even before the legislation was passed. We believed, and when we looked at it, there were certain things that could be done without the present legislation. So in San Juan Laventille, we got into it immediately. And so we operated with 8 committees. And the committees were infrastructural development and maintenance, and that will take care of all the infrastructural works that you would want to do, the construction of drains and roads and what have you. Then we had the public health, sanitation, and environment that will take care of all the public health issues, the collection and disposal of fecal waste, and the cleaning of in and around the municipality, and to make sure you have a healthy environment. As a matter of fact, in San Juan Laventille, we have taken it a little further, and we have gotten the permission of the Ministry of Education to do work with the schools within the municipality, because that would be one of the new responsibility of local government in terms of the maintenance of school.
Okay.
Right? But in addition to the maintenance of school, we are looking at the public health issues of schools within the municipality. You have, during the lunchtime, the lunch break, the school feeding program. And the children, whether you got the school feeding or you would bring your own lunch. And so after lunch, you would put it in bags, the waste in bags, and leave it for the garbage truck to collect, which most likely will be the next day.
Right.
And what you find is like dogs will come into the compound and to burst the bags and rummage through the garbage. So then that will encourage rats, right? And which could encourage a number of diseases in the school environment. And so we don't want that kind of thing within our schools in San Juan Laventille. So we're organizing a program to be able to collect the garbage immediately after lunch. Right? So you wouldn't have anything remaining there. And so we accept the responsibility to clean all the drains and the surroundings in the school. Right? So we have taken on that additional, our health department. Then you have finance, economic planning, and allocation of resources. As the finance committee, we have community development and social services and decentralization. Right? Decentralization is something new and that is the decentralization of social services. That is something new into the local government. So that we move on to sports development, recreation, ground, and public spaces. Right? That is another committee. Then we have spatial planning and the building inspectorate, because we do have responsibility for approving plans and so on. The general spatial planning within the municipality will be part, that will come from town and country and will be part of local government. That too will be new.
Right.
Yeah. Then we have the corporate services, which has more of the administrative part of it, and then public relations and marketing. So that's our 8, right? And this is in addition to 2 other meetings. We referred to them before, the Regional Coordinating Committee and the statutory meetings, which by law, the legislation should be chaired by the mayor.
Right.
Yeah.
So these would be standard committees across the corporations, not just committees that you all decide to make up.
No, this would be some of the standard committees. They can configure them how they want each corporation to suit their needs.
Right.
This is how we configure it to suit us.
Okay. And you're saying that in the previous term, you all would have operated with 8?
Still, yes.
Right.
We started operating with 8 from 2016.
Right.
Yeah.
And how did that work? Was it efficient? Was it effective?
Yes, it is efficient. You would have first, I know some members of council would have been uncomfortable because they would have been left out. You have a council of 18 persons, right?
Right.
And then you only have eight
Yes.
chairmen of committees,
Right.
right? And so you would have a couple persons who would be on the backbench, if you want to put it that way.
Right.
Yeah.
No, I asked the question because I know that in 2019 there was a situation where the Sangre Grande Corporation would have increased the number of committees from 12, which they were operating with before, to 15, and they certainly are not as big as you all are. So it speaks to the fact that management, again, efficiency, that monies could have been saved, monies that was being paid to chairmen could have gone towards the benefit of the burgesses.
Burgesses as well.
Well, I'm glad you raised that issue.
I think it is critical. It is critical that you focus on the management of the corporation, because I did indicate to you before that if the corporation is not functioning properly, you would be unable to provide the goods and services to the burgesses.
Right.
Yeah. So that level of management is critical. Pretty critical. Yeah. So that's how we do it.
Right. That's some pretty good information there. But in terms of, you mentioned earlier on with respect to the statutory meetings that this is public.
It is a public meeting, just like the parliament. Right? The public can come in and sit in. They can't participate,
right?
But they could come in and sit in and hear the debate among members of council. Right? So that is possible. Sometimes schools. We do have an excellent relationship with the schools within our municipality. And so we have decided that because of the calling of the election, we weren't able to complete that exercise. But we have decided to have junior councillors.
Right.
So you'd have representatives from all the secondary schools within Laventille who would become a junior councillor and would be shadowing the actual councillor.
Right.
Right? And it gives them an opportunity to understand local government, to learn how the operations of local government, and to carry the message through the community. We are hoping that we could reach the day when persons would allow their member of parliament to deal with parliamentary issues and the policies of governance for the country. Right? And to come to the councillor instead of going to the member of parliament on local government issues.
Right.
Yeah?
Right.
Right? It is because in the community, and I could say it because I too had the experience as a councillor and as a member of parliament. It was easy for me because I came out of local government. So I understand the local government issues and how to relate to the councillors in order to get assistance for the burgess. But yes, we would want people to understand what falls under local government and to come to local government for the assistance that they require.
Right.
Yeah. So we have this program with schools as well.
But it's interesting that you mentioned, that there was that program that was interrupted with the calling of the election. And I know that one of the reasons that would have been advanced by the government with respect to the decision to extend the life of the former council by a year was to ensure that there were more aspects of the reform rolled out to make it a more smooth transition when the new term comes in, and that would have been, and I think
easier,
yes.
Yeah.
And I think that's a point that was missed by a lot of people.
Might be deliberate.
Yes.
Because the focus is on call the election.
Yes.
Call the election.
Yeah.
But the election is here. Yeah.
Yes.
What are they saying? I am not hearing anything. If you want the elections to be called, I guess you should have been ready. You shouldn't be struggling to have candidates.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But people must look at all these things.
Right.
Must look at all these things.
And I think with respect again to what we are doing here and what is being done on different platforms with respect to educating and informing the people about what this reform means and how it's going to impact them going forward. So that some of the challenges that persons have been facing for decades, quite likely is going to be a thing of the past once the reform is rolled out in the correct way.
Mhm.
And I raise the point because there's another piece of legislation which now is causing a bit, again, because of not the information side of things wasn't all of that great. It's now causing some problems, and I refer to the procurement legislation, where the Minister of Finance in his press conference a couple of days ago would have made the point that the process of contractors who would have been doing work for the different government agencies for years now find themselves in a predicament where they cannot bid or they cannot tender for certain jobs because they are not
registered.
They're not
with the
registered.
OPR,
Yeah.
And that is a difficulty. Yes, the legislation is causing some problem. It has slowed up the process, the procurement process at the corporation. But I take it that it is the teething stages of the execution of this piece of legislation. And people have to familiarize themselves with the legislation. As Minister Embo did indicate, there might be it might be necessary to have some tweaking of the legislation, but I am happy for the legislation.
Yes.
Yeah, it would help us to do things in a better way. Once we get to understand it and to be able to work the legislation. But yes, we are having some challenges with it. Yeah, some things are happening a little too slow. We must be able to deal with things, especially when there's an emergency.
Right.
Yeah, especially when there's an emergency.
Yeah.
But one of the areas that I did not mention, the disaster unit of the municipal corporation, which is a very important unit within the corporation. And then that in our corporation falls under community development and social services. And so they report under that committee, but that is a very critical and important department of the regional corporation, especially in these times where we having some rainfalls,
right?
Unexpected rainfalls and so on. So they are very, very busy at this time. As a matter of fact, recently when we had some rain, we had some strong wind as well, and we lost in Laventille over 60 roofs. Yeah. I mean, so you could understand how busy it was for us at the corporation.
Right.
And the number of trees that fell, and some fell on houses. And
Chumacak falls in your...
Chumacak falls.
Okay, I know there was a recent...
Yeah, so that is an important area of the development as well.
Right. But as you raise that issue, in terms of disasters of that nature, what is your responsibility vis-a-vis that of the ODPM?
We are the first responders, so that as soon as it happens, we need to be on the ground and get there to see what it's like and to sort of determine how we proceed from there.
Okay.
Yeah. Whether we can we would provide things like, in the case of the roof, provide things like tarpaulin and that kind of thing to try to secure the stuff of the persons who live in their home. And if it's like trees, we have tree cutters, right? They would be there to cut the trees and all that kind of thing, and to remove them, clear the roads when trees fall across the road and that kind of thing.
Right.
That would be some of the immediate response that you would get from the disaster unit, and to prepare, to provide, I should say, a family may require foodstuff. So they will immediately provide some foodstuff and things like that, water and things like that to assist the burgess. Further to that, we may have to, because the corporation at this time And we hope that will change with the property tax. We won't have the resources, immediate resources to be able to assist in rebuilding, so that we liaise and work closely with the Commission for Self-Help.
Okay.
And they would provide the materials, and we would provide the labor and so to make sure that these persons are be able to put back on their feet again. Right? So these are some of the things that take place with that department.
Right. Do you anticipate the new system as well to provide some level of relief with respect to challenges persons may have with approvals for building, construction, and that sort of thing? Because I know some persons who are currently having issues with other corporations.
Yes, they at this time they're working with Town and Country, and they are computerizing the system, all in the desire to be able to turn over this thing quickly.
Okay.
As a matter of fact, there is a recommendation which I look forward to coming into play, that the municipal corporation will be responsible for all simple dwellings, so it wouldn't have to go to Town and Country.
Oh.
It comes to the corporation, it's approved there, and we move on with it.
Right.
All right. The larger 4- or 5-story buildings, you will have to go to Town and Country.
Right.
All right. Thereafter, the planning, we will have some planning responsibilities as well, the spatial planning in the municipality.
Right.
So yes, we look forward to that aspect of it.
Right.
Right. But actually, what has taken place now is the computerization of the section.
Right. Now, I know it's been said that persons who occupy state land, squatters, would be required to pay property tax. Therefore, is there a reasonable expectation that they too are entitled to the services that the corporation provides? Because then it gives a level of legitimacy to what they're doing. Because if I'm paying property tax, I expect that I get the same services as those persons who
I didn't have that one in terms of squatters paying the property tax. But if that is the legislation, that's the legislation. Even now, persons who are squatting benefit from the services of the corporation. Yeah, that's what it is.
Yeah,
they benefit as well from it. Some of the things that we are able to do because you might not have a deed for the property, the deed of comfort, we will accept because it's something coming from the government, especially if you're squatting on state lands. But if you are squatting on private property, you will have to get the approval of the owner.
Right.
To get certain things done.
Yeah. Taking another break. So folks, we go to the break again. And when we come back, we will continue with the discussion. Now we have just a little technical difficulty this evening with respect to taking calls. But for those of you who are viewing us online on the different platforms, feel free to share your questions there and I can pose them to Mr. Roberts on your behalf. So stay locked on, we'll be right back.
Carnival presents the ultimate Spice Mass experience for 2023. Moulin Rouge! Moulin Rouge! A road experience unlike any other in Grenada. From Juve to on the road Monday and Tuesday. Get in your section. Get in your direction. Play a mass. From Jab and Color Juve to Monday and Tuesday on the road with Lady of the Night, Lost, Temptress, Kabaway, Kankan, Deja Vu, Le Boucher, and more. Bashik Carnival is the all-inclusive, quality entertainment, outstanding customer service, VIP experience. Log on to BashikCarnival.com for all the details and get into Mullen Roll Bashik Carnival Ultimate Spice Mass Experience for 2023.
The rainy season has begun. Don't wait until your roof is falling into call. Contact Murphy's Roofing to get all your roofing services done now. They also specializes in roof installation, roof repairs, roof cleaning, roof painting, construction, framing, guttering, under sealing, gypsum and suspended ceiling, steel fabrication, and also supplies all roofing materials. And 10% off labor, 5% off material on new install only, and 5% off other services. So contact them today at 3567663 or WhatsApp to 9876663. Or check us out on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok at Murphy's Roofing System or Twitter at Murphy System.
Are you stressed and worried by problems? Then meet Priest Santosh G. Priest is specialized in palm, face, photo, and date of birth reading and gives solutions to problems in marriage, relationships, love, business, job, health, and removes all negativity and bad luck permanently and gives good luck and also gives lifelong protection. Home consultation is done. Call Priest Santosh on 756-8401. That's 756-8401.
And welcome back. We are into the final half hour of this evening's program. And for those of you who have stayed with us, stayed the course, we thank you so much. We're discussing the issues of local government reform and how it is going to impact you going forward in the lead up to August 14th and thereafter with the inception of the new council. My guest this evening, of course, is Mr. Anthony Roberts, the chairman of the Samuel Laventille Regional Corporation, former government minister. So, Mr. Roberts, the comparison has been made before between, we established that the local government reform and the new system is in some way modeled against the Tobago House of Assembly. But there are persons who have made the comparison. Tobago has a population of 65,000 people and they get a budget of 2.5 billion. You have about 180,000 persons, which is 3 times that of Tobago. But yes, still you get a budget of under 200 or 200 million. Do you think that is a fair comparison to make?
I don't think so. I think one of the major difference is that Tobago is a separate island. Yeah, and some of the responsibilities that they may be faced with, we will not have it. Yeah. In addition, it is easier for us to benefit from central government in addition to what would be given to us. So that I don't think you could make that comparison.
Yeah. And so the corporation as well is also responsible for cemeteries. Yeah, that falls under you all as well.
Cemeteries for
yes.
The municipal corporation. The crematoria, they are on the fringe. I don't think so. I think some more work has to be done to bring them into the fold. So we don't have, that kind of oversight over the crematoria. I was hoping that in the legislation we would have gone that far.
Right.
But with legislation, you know, you have to take bit by bit. So that I guess on the next occasion, you would look into the crematorium and as well private cemeteries. Yeah, but the public cemeteries are definitely under the municipal corporation.
Right.
We can establish them, we can maintain them. Yeah, it provides a level of income as well.
Right.
So that what I didn't say earlier on, in addition to the subvention from government, and in addition to the property tax, we have other revenues. So we get revenue from the burial of persons, and we get revenue from the rental of our recreation grounds and parks. We get revenue from the market facility as well. So these are some of the other areas, and I think there might be other areas that you could go into.
Yeah.
Right? Because you'll have a little more autonomy.
Right.
And so that too will be able to provide revenue for the corporation.
Right. So I would have been doing some research with respect to the main areas of expenditure under the various corporations, and I noticed personnel for all of the corporations, in fact, is perhaps the biggest area of expenditure. And we would have seen the chairman of the Superior Regional Corporation recently would have had a press conference where he made mention of the challenges that he faces with his CEO, as you would have mentioned earlier, and the power that the CEO has, he said, to just hire persons, you know, and determine salaries and all of this, which I found to be a bit...
Well, I'm going to say something which might be a little strange.
Yeah.
Yes, the person who hires and fires would be the CEO, the Chief Executive Officer.
Right.
But the council has to approve the payments.
Right.
So how are you going to hire unless you're going to pay from your pocket? Yeah?
Yeah.
So you have to come to the council.
Right.
Yeah. So you can't go about willy-nilly and just hire people. You have to hire people with the blessings of the council.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So again, the CEO would be appointed by the public service, or
the CEO. My understanding is the CEO will be hired by the public service, but the public service also has other staff at the corporation.
Right.
Some of the principal officers are public servants.
Right.
And my reading and understanding of the legislation, the corporation, because they will not be working in the public service, they'll be working with the corporation. So we would be entitled to hire all of the staff.
Okay.
All right? But the CEO will be hired by the public service. And which is a change, a major change. You see, because the Ministry of Local Government, as it is configured now, is supposed to be providing all the staff from the public service. What the staff that the corporation would hire would be the daily pays. All right, so all the more the technical people will come in from the Ministry of Local Government. And we have a difficulty in getting the staff from the Ministry of Local Government. I have not had that they were supposed to provide a financial officer for years. Yeah? What we did is to hire somebody on short term.
Right.
To make sure that is 6 months by 6 months. Right? To make sure that we get our business going.
Right.
Right? I have not had a corporate secretary from the ministry for quite a while now, more than a year. Yeah, we don't have a corporate secretary. We have to spend what we don't have on external attorneys. we have to spend, and we have to, we try to contract one again, right? So we'll have to see if we can get another attorney. The ministry provided from they gave us some change management people, and they sent us a junior attorney. That person is there. So that is the only way we get legal service through that person, which is inadequate, really. Yeah. So we have to live, and we have not had a building inspector for the longest while. Thank God that the legislation spoke to utilizing the services of the engineer. But we have one engineer. I mean,
what is the ideal complement?
I would say we should have at least 3 engineers.
Right.
Yeah, but we have one, and I know the man is stretched. Yeah, and working with me is not easy because I call for my pound of flesh every minute of the day.
Right.
Yes. But I do have an excellent relationship with the young man.
Right.
Yeah, so that these key personnel that the ministry is supposed to provide, they are not now providing them. So that we have to find the funds to hire persons on a short-term basis.
Right.
And with the reform coming into play, this is something that is supposed to be fixed. Yeah, we will be able to freely hire persons to carry on the work of the corporation.
Right. In terms of revenue shortfalls, on a scale of 1 to 10, how necessary would you say the property taxes and the revenue that you envisage to collect from that? How important is that going to be going forward to ensure a better delivery of the services that you provide?
I would say, if 10 being here, is 10. Yeah?
Yes.
Because you're in dire need for funding. It is one of the things we identified when we were doing the research to prepare the policy document. The insufficient funding to carry out the work of the corporation. And I am overly joyed with the government's approach to using the property tax. Yeah?
Yes.
And all those, and I repeat it, all those who don't need it, send it across to us in Laventille.
Yes.
Yeah? The people in Laventille will certainly benefit. Yeah? But I know that wouldn't happen.
Right.
Yeah?
Because we don't support the property tax, but if it comes into play and the money is coming, we wouldn't say we don't want it.
You should say you don't
exactly
want it because you don't support it.
Yeah. You don't support the mechanism while on how it will come, well, then reject it altogether.
We receive it at open arms.
Yes.
Open arms.
300,000 went missing from the Superior Regional Corporation. How is that possible? Can that happen? Is it possible that could have happened under your corporation? And where does the buck stop? Who bears the ultimate responsibility for that?
It happened
yes.
in Laventille. Where we knew, while I was chairman, we knew that something was amiss. But I am the person who will hunt until I find it.
Right.
And so we found out that I think it was approximately 20 million over a period.
Wow.
Right? That staff and the persons who were not even employed with Laventille benefited from it. And they were paying themselves. But as a matter now before the court, so that I will not attempt to get into it.
I think I recall that.
12 persons were arrested.
Yes.
On that matter. Yeah, and we did not hesitate to call the police. Right? And they investigated the matter. But these things could happen in local government.
Yeah.
Yeah, you have to be very vigilant
Mhm.
with what is taking place and monitor what is taking place carefully.
Right.
And the staff at San Juan Laventille know that I love to call the police. The time I like police.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that if you engage in that way,
Yes.
certainly you're sure that you're certain that we will come after you.
Right.
Yeah, and that's one way of dealing with it.
Right.
Because I have said on many occasions, sometimes people want to find out where we are able to get the funding from.
Mhm.
And I know sometimes they will ask where you're getting the funding from, as if to say, well, because PNM is in government, you are getting something extra. That is not it.
Mhm.
If you manage the funds carefully, there's a lot of wastage at this stage in local government.
In what areas?
In almost every area you look at it, and the overtime and the allowances, they create all kind of things to eke out an extra sum. I know some of them might be very annoyed with me. And so you have to keep looking at the finances with an eagle eye to make sure that you could manage it. And if you are able to manage it, you are able to better spend it on areas that where it's much needed, right? When a number of my colleagues inquired where I was getting the money from to purchase computers, because we decided to digitalize the corporation, and we went into that area. It is because of careful management and your astute spending of the government. You have to understand that the money is not yours. The money is government's funding.
Yeah.
The people of Trinidad and Tobago, and they expect that you would spend it wisely.
Yes.
Right? And that is what we try to do. Even today, I had discussions with the chief executive officer with respect to the kind of overtime that I am seeing coming around. Right? And the CEO had to agree with me.
What kind of concern are we talking about?
You would see something for a month, some $40-something thousand, and all that kind of thing in overtime.
Right.
So these are things that we're working on, and you're trying to cut them out.
And this is from persons in-house, or?
Yeah. Persons
Okay.
in-house.
Okay.
Persons in-house. So these are this kind of management that you would require.
Yes.
From
as you mentioned that, a thought came to my mind when the late Desmond Carty said, "All are we thief." And he gave the example of the things that people do.
Yeah.
We're quick to criticize the politicians that they're dishonest, but the simple things like, as you're mentioning now.
Yeah. So you have to always keep an eye on the management. For example, there is a payment that is made. They call it cost of custody of vehicles. So that the guys will take the vehicle, drive down the road with it, and keep it after lunch and come back. And you have to pay them overtime and meal allowance. The council took a decision. Take your lunch. Take your lunch when it's lunchtime.
Right.
And if there is a need to continue to work, it must be approved by your supervisor or the CEO.
Right.
Right? If it is not approved, you're not paying that.
Right.
Yeah? And a list for payment came sometime recently. And I asked them to indicate to me who approved them. Taking a little long to come back.
So then what you're saying to me is that some of these large figures that we see for personnel may be in fact artificial, and then there's people manipulating the system.
Manipulating the system. Yeah? that is-
may very well be robbing themselves and their own communities.
Yeah, they're
of-
robbing the community. People, they're not concerned about community. They're concerned about what they can get for themselves.
Right.
Yeah. I spoke to a group of staff members yesterday because some of them will defect the vehicle so as not to do anything.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they may do things to purposely damage the vehicle. And we are looking at this time because we know accidents will happen. Fine, we have no problem. But if after the investigation you are culpable, you'll have to pay for it.
Right.
Yeah? So these are some of the things that we.
So when we hear the chairman of a corporation call a press conference to complain about this number of vehicles are down, and it may not necessarily be what we are hearing on the surface, but something.
Sometimes
these
guys, they will know, go into the savannah to brush cut and know that there is a bottle, or there is a rock.
Yeah.
And drive through it. Yeah. So these are some of the problems that you encounter, and
right.
These are some of the challenges that you have to deal with as administrator.
Right.
Yeah. So
we can expect a more firm hand, given the new dispensation and with greater authority and autonomy.
Yes, because the executive council would be there full time, and you're on the ball.
Right.
Yeah. So we expect to get greater management from them.
Right.
Yeah. You don't have to run away from work and to hide and to run to the corporation and run back. And You're there. As a matter of fact, in our new floor plan for a building that we are looking at, each one of the chairmen of committees will sit. There's an office in the departments that you have responsibility for. Yeah. So you're on spot.
Right.
Yeah. You're working full time with the staff. All right. And so that you will understand. But the thing is, you will have new people coming in, so a lot of training will have to take place. And guidance will have to take place.
Right.
Some of these new ones. And so in our case, we will use the opportunity to review our strategic plan. Yeah? And we do have a consultant who would work with us in terms of our a management consultant who works with us.
Okay.
So that we try to have it done as packed as possible.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Your parting words to the citizens of Trinidad and Tobago. I leave it open to you.
My parting words to our citizens: some people believe that you don't have to vote in a local government election. That is not so. You are entitled to come and cast your franchise and cast your franchise for a team of persons who have demonstrated their commitment to the development of Trinidad and Tobago. Local government is no plaything. Local government is hard work. Local government is commitment to the development of community. And these are some of the things that you have to take into consideration, because your vote is important. It is important. And it's critical that you participate in the electoral process in Trinidad and Tobago. All right? So that you can't make a mistake, so that you will say that you are sorry thereafter. It is that important. Our communities are dear to us, as in our case. We have started the discussion on ensuring that we have sustainable communities where people themselves will understand that you can be self-sufficient and to be able to help yourselves while working with your community leaders in local government. And I want to be specific because the community leaders could mean anything.
Yes.
Yeah. Your leaders, community leaders in local government, to work with us to ensure that we have stronger and better communities.
Yes.
And that is my appeal to the country. Come out and vote.
Come out and vote. And as I always say, folks, your vote is non-refundable.
Yep.
So when you make the decision on August 14th, if you are dissatisfied 6 months later or a year later, you cannot go back to the EBC and say, I made a mistake. Here's my receipt. I want my vote back. It doesn't work that way. The new term of council, 4 years, no longer 3. So this is the reality now. So make sure you make the best decision.
Yeah.
Just tell us how can persons who are interested in attending the council meetings know?
The statutory meeting?
Yeah.
They can call the council to find out when is the statutory meeting. It is usually the last week is the last meeting of the month because all the committees will have to meet.
Right.
And their recommendation will come to the statutory meeting for approval. And so it's the last meeting of the month.
Right.
Yeah, some people would have it on the Thursday before the end of the month or the Wednesday before the end of the month. The corporation, they decide which day. But it is the last meeting of the month.
Right.
And you can just advise us that you're coming. For instance, if it's a school, advise us so that we could make the necessary preparation for you in terms of accommodation for you, because all the corporation might not have the kind of accommodation that you're really supposed to have.
Thanks.
You're supposed to have a gallery, just like the parliament.
Thank you. Anthony Roberts, Chairman of the San Juan Laventille Regional Corporation. Thank you so much for joining us this evening, sir. And thank you to all of you who stayed with us for the entire 2 hours. Apologies for this evening not being able to take your calls, but of course that situation would be rectified going forward. So thank you so much again for joining The Real Issues with yours truly, Dominic, Romain. Enjoy your weekend. Make it count, and God's willing, we will be back here on Tuesday with another guest, just as informative and hopefully just as appealing. So out of time, but not out of things to say. Have a good evening.